pointer. I just had
Right
it.
there.
If it was a snake, it would have bit me type thing, wouldn't it? That's right. All right, so we had left off at the, there was one thing. I'll let it wait. The three in front, I'll let it wait till we get to the next one.
Peace. My name is Kagan, and I'm here at the 8th Ankh with Sister Rahsmariah V. Bay, and she is going to be teaching a class on interpreting your natal chart.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kagan. Right. You're a star now. Well, you were a star always. All of us are stars, actually. We just don't know what kind of star it is that we are. I'd like to start the class with the usual references of, you know, how people get to know what they know and what did they read and credentials, as we say. Of course, there's a list of books that I've read, but more importantly to me, my references become, as I recall, my grandmother, who used to say things to me like, watch the sap in the trees, in the winter it goes down below the ground. And then in the spring it rises back again. And she said, that's how people are. If something is inside of them, they're sure going to come out in the spring, child, just as grandmothers would say. And then I remember my great uncle, her brother, who was a planter. And he was sort of tracked down by a local newspaper to do an article called Planting by the Sun, Planting by the Moon, Phases of the Moon, wherein he described how to plant, when to plant, what not to plant, and what would happen in detail if you planted on the wrong phase of the moon to your crop. And then, of course, I remember the 70s, when I first became interested in astrology. Everybody was going around saying, what's your sign? You know, everybody was identifying with astrology at that time. Unfortunately, it became like a fad, and faded out, commercialized. You could go and find articles, columns about astrology then and now, but it's all commercialized. And then, of course, I realized that the reason that it's faded out, and this is very important before even getting into any natal aspects or understandings of signs and planets, is because it was a civilization, and it is a civilization and culture that belonged to us and our ancestors. So it had to be faded out and commercialized, because anything that seems as if we might be getting involved in and getting back in touch with nature, sometimes people feel that, well, we can make a dollar off of it, and that's what has happened. So it became faded out. You'll find, if you look in encyclopedias, definitions of astrology that describe theologians, which are men of theory, who say that they arrested and banned astrology, and what they actually were doing was killing a civilization and a culture. If you look at the word cult or occult, what is that? Add chur to the end of cult and you have culture, or it is of a cult. So it's of a culture. And that is what has happened to astrology. It has been destroyed. I recall the times when my mother used to say, do not worry about the things you have no control over. And that was a very hard lesson for me, because she would say that everything has its own control. It has a rhyme, it has a reason, it has a season. I think that my grandmother and my family was actually imparting to me and sharing with me their application of the laws of nature, because that's how they lived. There's just no question. That's the way it was always done. And what has happened now, with us being faded away from it or not, and I think sometimes the reason why we're away from it is that we don't identify with it at all, because it seems to be identified in a commercialized way. Two, it seems complicated to identify with. And that's what I want to do today, is just kind of break it down so that it is not complicated. What you do with it after that in terms of your study, that's for you. But it will change, it should, it ought to change, certainly change the way you see yourself and change the way you see astrology. It'll get rid of, without doubt, the God concept, which most of us have already, we know something's wrong there. And that's another reason why it has been arrested and banned, because it would, without doubt, get rid of the God concept. No question. So, I'm not going to read everything that's in my reference. That's for you to do. But I would like to say this. Thank you. Thank you very much. You can read the list of books, but to me, my closest reference are my family. And if we can get back to that, where I don't have to stand here telling you or giving you credentials about something that we all used to know, and not only know, but applied. That's where it has to come to. And it will get there. When we were born under the stars and the moons and the planets. They were watching us when we were born. But yet we think that that they don't affect us. That doesn't even fall with common thinking. Of course it affects it. If the sun is strong enough to spark life in the earth, and the moon is strong enough to pull the tides of oceans, then who are we to think that it has no effect on us? It has a great effect on us. But again, by knowing what these effects are would put us in a place where we would, if there's no middleman, we would direct to ourselves. And God said, as they say, God said, I've given you everything that you need. It's inside of you. If you've read Book of Thomas, which is the one I've read, and it's also in the scripture, the Bibliosilitate. I've given you everything that it's already in you. If you should search for the kingdom of heaven and you think it is up there, then the birds will get there first. If you think it's below, then the fish are going to beat you to it. It's inside already. So if it's inside, why are we looking for anything or anyone to come and salvage or save us? It just doesn't work. It's inside yourself. So how do you get to that? Definitely, definitely. Zodiac is a representation of the laws of nature. In spite of man's failure to recognize this fact, and I tell you, I have to ask you a question. Do you think that man transforms back into this earth again and again? Or do you think you're just here once and you're going to go, and that's it?
Is that a question?
Yeah, I'm asking.
I believe that man comes back.
Man comes back.
Again
Again and
and again.
again.
Until he corrects whatever has to be corrected.
Right. Which could be infinite, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It could be. Definitely.
Could be. Definitely, right?
Indefinitely.
So anyone who doesn't know that, I would say to them, look into the eyes of a baby, or their baby, or any baby. Who do you see? You know, that's how you would go with that. Well, when we're done with this class, one thing I'm assured it's going to do is explain to you some of the things that you do, some of the things that you don't do, and why you do them or don't do them. Yes, you are different. Everybody is a star, as I said, but not the kind of star that's on television, you know, pretending like, looking like I'm making love, but not making love, but I'm nude, you know, but I'm a star. Not that star, okay? Being different doesn't make you strange, but it also doesn't make you any better than the next person. It just makes you more of you, uniquely you. Most importantly, all of the explanations that we're going to give and all of the variations that we're going to give do not come from a crystal ball. It comes from natural law. Now, we talked about what the media wants you to see and how they want you not to look at the astrology. I got to say, before we get into the progression of the sun, as I said, the spring is when things come out. If you will notice, it's around the spring, and someone brought this to my attention just recently, that major laws are made, you know, like right now. They have a law where they are going to allow networks to buy all of the networks. Has anybody heard about that on the news? Yeah. You have? Okay. This is still the spring yet. It's not quite summer, so they got it in right in time. They make these major things in the spring. This is when everything comes out. Now this law for them, or this new rule, or whatever they want to call it in the FCC, will allow the larger networks to buy all of the television stations, right? This is the first time that this has happened, and Ted Koppel said this on TV. We've been seeing him for a long time. In over 50 years, maybe even closer to 100 years, that it has even been allowed to buy like that. But there's a reason for that. Because once the larger networks buy it, then we already know they have control of the media, but it'll be done. You can forget about independent TV, and what you can truly forget about is the fact that you may not ever want your child to watch television again, because the lies and what is going to be put on the television is going to truly control your mind. And they're only going to let you see what they want you to see. And it's just like when they had the war on television, they already desensitized our children to actually look at war on TV and think it was part of a video game. Yeah, I was there. I saw when the President Bush, when he was first really into his thing, you know, and he said, and that's before the million Shiites came back and started doing their rituals. So they're over there killing them now, which is why everything's hush-hush. But, you know, you may never know about that. So I remember him saying to the children, our president said, this is not a video game. They were talking to your children. War, real war, was on television, and they were debating whether it was good to have it on TV or not. But here's what we'll do. We'll put a disclaimer so the children will know that this is not a video game. So once the decision where they own all of the television stations comes out, what we all knew about, that they control the media and control our minds, will be more of a reality than what we have imagined. But the sad part is, or the most important part is that even though we're adults and can deal with that aspect, what about the children? Think, what about the children? So, what do? We have to grab them. We have to. We have to start teaching our children properly. We must. Okay. Just so you know, it's not based on a crystal ball. It's based on on natural law. I want to get started. I got something that I precisely wanted to say. It's about 5 minutes, and it was so precise that I didn't want to have to sit here because I would go off into other things. So I put it on tape. You have the tape, right? Let me just find the... Does everyone here, before I go, because a lot of people here are advanced with some of the astrology, and this is really designed for people who, it's elementary, I think. I mean, I'm excited about it, but I am. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm still finding out something new every day. Okay, here we go. Does anybody here already know, like, how the sun moves, the progression? I mean, are we already there, basically there?
No. What do you mean progression?
Okay.
I hate the lights.
Yeah, can you get the lights for me? The progression meaning how it travels, how it goes through, yeah. That it goes through the signs, the seasons, how it gets there. All right, we'll just sit through this. Yes, this is in the book. I don't have every page of the book in, but I do have this in. Okay. What? Yeah, sure. It's only, here you go. Okay. All right, we're just going to play this. It's about what? Is it 5 minutes? I want you to just kind of think about the movement of the sun. Oh, great. We have some children here. This is good. This is perfect. All right. You got the lights?
Yeah, you're right.
That were used during the time that they banned and or arrested our civilization and culture, that but yet used, not, I won't even say to create theirs, but used in their religion. I'm going to pull them right off of there. And I was just wondering if you could see one right now.
I think that's a flat red thing.
Huh? You like that? All right, listen, I want you to listen to something about 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right.
The sun rises on the ascendant, Aries, in
Right
the
there.
northeastern hemisphere,
Right?
where it ushers
See?
in nature's new year at the spring or vernal equinox, bringing us equal day and equal night. It then moves into Taurus, where it is fixed or
Right.
stable in the middle of the season. From there it moves into Gemini, where it begins to mutate out of the spring season and turns to Cancer in the north.
Oh, yeah, right there.
This is the summer solstice, where
Right
the
here.
sun remains for 3 degrees and brings the longest day of the year, as it is at its highest point in the north and summer is initiated. The sun then moves into Leo, where it is fixed and dignified in the summer season. It then moves into Virgo, where it begins to mutate again out of the season. When the sun turns to Libra, it is on the descendant line in the west and is beginning its descent into the colder days. Here, the fall or autumn equinox takes place, where once again we have equal day and equal night. It then moves into Scorpio, where it is fixed in the season, and on to Sagittarius, where once again it mutates out of the fall season and continues its descent into the darker, colder days. When it moves into Capricorn, it is at its lowest point in the south, bringing in the winter and the shortest day of the year. This is the winter solstice. And it's interesting to note that it takes place on December the 22nd. The sun remains there in that same degree for 3 days, after which on December 25th, it ascends like a new birth or resurrection and continues on its path. It then moves into Aquarius, where it is again fixed in the season. Then into Pisces, where it mutates out of the winter and begins its climb towards exaltation as it reaches the ascendant line and begins a new year, bringing in once again the spring equinox and a new cycle. As above, so below. It is important to note that the sun does not move around the earth. The earth moves around the sun. The aforementioned progression is true as the sun reflects upon the earth. There are many other elements in the cosmos that have an effect on the earth. When speaking on the zodiac, we have 9 other planets, 12 houses, and 12 stellar lights called sun signs, which shine their hues and energies onto the earth plane. The zodiac is broken up into 3 major areas: houses, planets, and sun signs. The planets move through the 12 houses, giving off certain energy. The 12 signs move through the same houses, and they channel the energy of the planets into certain traits or characteristics. The houses that the planets and signs are in determine which areas of life are affected by their influence. The most powerful influences are from 7 planets, the 7 ruling powers: the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The Sun gives you life and determines your character. The Moon determines your emotional self. Mercury determines your mind or intellectual self. Venus, your love nature. Mars, your energy or action. Jupiter unfolds your gifts, and Saturn disciplines you. Your individual self or body and personality is determined by your ascendant sign, the sign that is on the horizon at the time of birth, hence your beginning of travel through the zodiac. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are not left out. They are higher octaves of Mercury, Venus, and Mars, respectively. It seems they give you a second chance to fine-tune yourself before Jupiter bestows your gifts, unless Saturn will make you do it all again until you get it right. It is said that you will not get out of this universe until you have passed through the rings of Saturn. Saturn will not let you pass until you have disciplined yourself properly and know the laws of nature, as you must take them with you wherever you go. It has been written that the chosen few are 144,000. This will fall as truth when each one of us has come back and learned the lessons of each sun sign. 12 times 12 equals 144. So don't fret about your accomplishments or your disappointments. You will return until you make yourself whole, and you will return to receive your honors, awards, and achievements. All that is in the cosmos are a lesson in the laws of nature, and we must know them all. At this time, we are in the age of Aquarius. An age is determined when two moon planets meet on their path. They travel together and create a magnanimous magnetic influence of their traits and attributes, and the traits and attributes of the sun sign they are ushering in. Aquarius is being ushered in by Uranus and Saturn. Uranus, who bows down and bends to no one, is asking that we heighten our love nature to altruism, love in a broad spiritual sense for all. Relentless Saturn is making a statement that if you do not, you will be severely disciplined. It is clear we had all buckled down in our instruction because the rays of Uranus and Saturn are dynamic. I see the sun and the moon as mother and father. The sun, father, sparking life, and the moon, mother, giving birth perpetually. I see the planets as their children dancing and playing, going to and fro on a course that becomes their very own playground. The signs are the stellar lights that shine upon the planet's arrival as they both, planets and signs, travel an approved course set by their parents in and out of many mansions in the sky. The entire cosmos are intertwined and repetitiously demonstrate the laws of nature, rigidly planted in divine natural law and order. So we too are an act of nature and are affected by the movements of the cosmos. These movements create 131,760 astrological types and 131,400 varieties of personalities a year. Which one are you? And what lesson are you here to learn this time?
Thank you. The music. Okay. Now, what I want to show you with that, I had to do that because that is the progression of ourselves. The seasons, the sun, the way the sun goes, and the seasons that it goes in. I wanted to make a point of the fact that it starts at the cardinal sign, Aries, here. This is foundational, because with anything you have to have the foundation to build with. It ends here. It starts with cardinal sign, which is Aries. Then it goes to a fixed sign, and then it goes to a mutable sign. What that means is the cardinal sign starts the season. It initiates the season. The fixed sign, which is Taurus in this case, for this season, this is one season right here, spring. The fixed sign is Taurus. It's fixed in the middle of the season. And then you have, it likes being there. It doesn't, either way, it's right in the middle. Then you have Gemini, who's ready to mutate out of a season into the next season. But Gemini's not the initiator of the season, Cancer is. And this is like we are. Cardinal people get things started. Fixed people, those are the ones that you call stubborn and say, you know, they don't move because they're fixed. Now, and just generally, same thing with Gemini people, mutable, they change to flexible because this is where they are. And you go around the entire, each season. And you'll notice something, and we're going to need this as we go through the other lessons. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Very important. Necessary forces, necessary actions. To initiate something, to be in it, and to be out of it. That's what a season, what is required in a season. Now, of course, if you're a person in your chart and you have a lot of signs, that you might not be in Aries. And this is how this whole chart thing works. That's why you must know your natal chart. You won't need a counselor, you won't need a psychologist, you won't need anything else if you just get to know you, really. So let's say that you are not in Aries, but you happen to have in your chart a lot of cardinal signs. So then that quality of what I just explained about cardinal will apply to you also. Because that's what happens in astrology. People say, well, she's a Gemini, but she don't act like one. She don't act like this. I don't believe in astrology is not right. It's because It's not that simple. There are 7, actually 10 planets that affect you. Now, as I mentioned, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are higher octave planets. So that means if they're higher octave planets, you got the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. There's the 7. They move faster. They affect, well, all of them's effect is strong, but they're constantly moving. They're what's making the changes of people. The sun being your giver of life, that gives you life and your general characteristic, and the moon is your inside self that not very many people get to see, and then your ascendant, that's the outside personality of you. That's what was on the horizon. That's what many people get to see. So there's a lot of variations, a lot of them, but if we can get to know the foundational, so in other words, even if I were to look at, if you were to look at someone's chart and it had a bunch of signs in it, you could at a glance say, well, gee, our Aries is cardinal. He's got a cardinal sign, so generally he's going to be or she's going to be this way. I mean, this gets down to a science where you can actually tell, you can know, and you might want to know who or how many, or whether you're going to get married. Some people never get married, and other people think, well, Dad, what's wrong with them? They never got married. Or a man might be thinking, wow, how come I don't want to get married? You know, it's because possibly what's in your chart. There's some variations that make it so you can't decide which woman to marry. That's why you don't get married. And that's just the way it is. But once you know that, then you never have to question why. Then you can maybe use your own will and make it happen. Instead of wondering, you know, is there something wrong with me? Same thing with the woman. It's the same thing. Or there's some cases where your chart is, and it's like doomed, you know. It's very doomed because things are kind of like not in good aspect, but it's meant to be. Whatever it is, whatever your chart is, it is meant to be that way. You are meant to be here to learn that lesson. If you've got a lot of pleasant things in your chart, you're here to reap it. If you've got a lot of challenging things in your chart, that's what it's meant to be for you to do so. That's right. And the best way is to find out, you know, to me, I'm thinking, find out what it is, your blueprint is, which is your map, and then go do it and be it. Instead of running around trying to figure out what it is, you know you don't feel, it doesn't feel correct. You know, I always say to people, when something hits your ears, and it feels good in your heart, which is where your soul is, right? It's for you. It's for you, right? It's for you. When that happens, not what someone else thinks it should be and you ought not, and that's how you know what you're supposed to be doing in your life. So, it's kind of, this is your culture. This is your map to finding and being yourself. Of course it knows who you are. Again, it was there when you were born. The cosmos affected, gave you all the qualities that you have. And when you go back up there, even like any religion, they're all going to heaven. Every last one of them, I'm going to heaven. Some of them got a rapture that's coming to get them and take them back to heaven, and they're waiting and all that. But they don't have no idea where they're going. Neither are they concerned. In fact, don't talk about it. But they're coming back. So you just keep coming back until you learn the principles. You're going to have, like I said, you have to take them with you so that you can will your way back. When we talked about will, will is, well, let's get through this. Will is to create. I want to show you, before I get the other one, somebody said they knew what this looked like. Does anybody know what this looks like?
Looks like the sun.
Oh, that is representing, yes, the sun goes, that's right. It goes around like a circle, a 360-degree circle. And the sun travels around, right? And actually the earth travels around the sun.
Because the earth is spinning, and it's spinning, it's going around, and it's spinning, it spins out. Like
Right. Absolutely. It has its own course, right? How about the moon?
The moon is spinning around the earth. I don't know if it spins while it's spinning, but
It
goes around the earth and goes with the earth too.
okay, the moon and the sun sort of travel together, and they have their own separate course, which is why sometimes you'll see people tell you that the sun and the moon are not planets, because the other planets actually travel around the sun, and the moon kind of hangs out with the sun. You know, has its own definite course. The moon's course, you're correct, son. The moon has its own course, which is why we have, actually, the moon has 13 cycles, and a woman has 13 cycles.
And there's a lot of moons, too.
Yes, a lot of the planets have their own moons. But we're talking about the big major moon, right? That's the one we're talking about, the one that we see that comes every night faithfully, right? And the sun that rises every morning faithfully, no matter what's going on. It's there. So that's what, but you're right, and that is the concept of the cosmos. All of the planets have their own course. So I was saying that Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn are Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, their course is so out there, here's something here, that it's, because they're large, it's not that they're so far away, it's just that they go so far out in their course, but yet they do affect you. They do affect what we do here. We're going to talk some more about you're going to tell me some more about how to, I'm going to need you to help me out, okay? Thank you. Besides seeing the sun, yes, because we're talking about the progression of the sun here, and does anybody know what this is? These things. Does that look like anything to you? That's what they actually are. They are directions. But now, have anybody ever seen the swastika? No. Okay, you seeing it? Now, the swastika actually reverses it, because you said direction, and that is the direction. Sometimes you'll see it this way. It really doesn't matter, because it goes around. And this is life. The tags going the other way is death. Okay? So, as you can see, they're still taken from something that is about the progression of life and used it in a culture. You know, you would have never known that that's what it was. And it's amazing. I had read about that in a story called Rebecca that was in the Moroccan Star. I think part 1 and part 2. It's an excellent movie. Excellent movie. Excellent article. Also, you read it? Yeah, you did. I think part 3 has to come out, though.
Yeah, exactly. It ain't finished yet.
No, right. And, yeah, and if you notice in there, it had swastika, had the amulets. See? They had the amulets that the people were wearing. All right, we'll go back. They're on the bottom of the page, and they had the amulets. And I noticed that it was a swastika.
Yes.
You saw it? Okay. Coming from, because back then, of course, they were honoring the natural law and the sun, right, in the zodiac. But someone else took it and made it, and reversed it and made it to represent their culture of death. So it all comes from. Now, as far as seeing the cross, you see the cross, right? I'm going to change it. You see the cross, and you see, well, you know what, I'm going to leave this one on here because this one's smaller. You see the cross, and you see this, everywhere that a season changed, what did I say? They were cardinal points, right? Okay. Cardinal points.
Cardinal and mutable. And what's the middle one again?
Fixed. It's in the middle, so it's fixed. Because if I was standing here, right, and I'm cardinal, and you were standing here in the middle, and then somebody else was on the other side, the guy in the middle would be fixed. He can't move. Right? So that's how you remember that. Fixed is right in the middle, and they like being there too. That's why most people who are earth signs and or particularly Tauruses, they're tied to their earth signs and they're fixed. But of course Aquarius is fixed, and if you know, that's something else to notice. If you notice,
Pisces is mutable, so
Pisces is mutable, changes a lot. Now I'll tell you who's mutable. Pisces is mutable, Virgo is mutable, and Gemini is mutable. You're Pisces, you're mutable. Which means you can change very easily. That could be a good thing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, but just remember, everything exists at the same time. Positive and negative, good and bad. It's a matter of how you see it. It's all at the same. Somebody says something bad happens, it may not be bad. There's a silver lining behind every cloud. If you, huh?
it's like, like more trees, like a whole lot of trees grow in the city, and people think it's bad because then it blocks out because then it blocks something out for them. I don't know why, but some people don't like trees in there.
What do you think about trees?
I like trees.
Absolutely. They feel great.
Most of them have fruit on them.
Most of them have fruit on it, and that's what you're supposed to eat, son, the fruit. In fact, there's an issue in here about health, about eating meat. You know why? You're supposed to eat fruit and vegetables that Mother Earth provides for you. You don't need to go to the store, to the grocery store, and hope that they're open. You don't need to worry about whether they're feeding you stuff that's going to kill you, because that's what's happening right now. It's bad food out there, very bad food. Exactly. Right, exactly. The trees are there. Now, I'll give you something else, and maybe you can tell your friends this that eat meat when you get older or right now. A tiger is a meat-eating animal, right? His digestive tract is 3 times the length of his body.
Wow.
It's either 3 or 6, because I studied this a long time ago. It's either 3 or 6, and I make sure I'm right, because I know you're going to go check. You come back and let me know. It's 3 or 6.
Okay.
Either way, the comparison is our bodies and our digestive tract is 12 times the length of our body. You thought 3 was bad. What do you think about 12?
It takes a long time.
Right. So what happens to the meat?
It starts to rot and get bad.
And that's where you... Absolutely. So a tiger has his 3 times because he's supposed to eat meat and he expels it out of his body.
And they eat fat.
Huh?
And they intestine is fat.
Yes. Yes.
Acidic.
Right. So what I'm saying is what, son, that we...
We eat a lot of acidic and rot. And when you eat meat, it just goes bad in your body. It's
That's
like
what I'm
eating
trying to tell you.
5-day-old meat that you left out.
Exactly, son. And you know what? That's why people have colon cancer. Has been very popular lately in the past 5 years or 10 years or whatever. Who knows? I don't know. Ever since Reagan got it, it's like everybody paid attention. That was one of the presidents. You know, but all other sicknesses as well. Meat. That's why people aren't as healthy as they should be. Okay? All right. We're moving along. So we see the cardinal points. That's what we were talking about, right? Remember that. So the cardinal points are where the seasons change. Now you'll notice that that looks like a what?
Looks like
A cross. Okay, so I got to say this kind of gently since we have children here. Here's what is thought, that this is astrology, and people followed it without question. It is a representation of the laws of nature without question, whether you want to accept that fact or not. In spite of you, it is. So people would watch and be able to tell the time by where the sun was located in the sky. And they had sundials. And then people would have the ability to determine how to plant vegetables in the ground based on where the moon was, the phases of the moon. And then they actually, I believe it's Stonehenge, has built, that's what that is. The moon moves. And each slither, if you will, lets them know where it is. Or the sun moves, I'm sorry, for where they have the, I'm not sure if that's Stonehenge, I saw it on one of them, where they have, actually they couldn't figure out what it was for, but they have like big stones and they have openings. Okay, that's for when the sun is moving so they can tell, you know, where it is. But the moon, of course, you can look at it and pretty much see its phases, but at the same time it moves too. So these are the things that were happening. Now.
I have a question.
What?
Is it true that the pyramids are, that each pyramid is pointing to a star?
Yes. Tell you about that in a minute. Now, let's see, because we're talking about up here, up in the cosmos, which is part of this universe as well as the earth. So, now, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, wait a minute. Oh, okay, so what I was saying is, so now, this is what people used to go by and live by. Now, when right after the Crusades, or if you look at the encyclopedia, they'll use the 1500s, that's the time frame they'll use, they began Christianity in its present form. And when they did that, they took and they made a cross. And they took that right from here. Now, the Catholics to this day, what do they call themselves in church? Cardinals. The Catholics call themselves cardinals. And they do this. So what they're doing is giving respect or homage to the cycle of the sun. But you don't know that.
That's right, they do that.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't figure out what that is.
They're doing this, they're doing that. That's what they're doing. Yes, sir.
They're giving respect
To the cycle of the sun. That's what they're acknowledging when they do that. So I'm kind of trying to get you to see, or we're trying to get to, right, that's what they're doing. We're trying to get to where this always was and is and will be, despite of whether you want it to be or not. And they took and said, here, we want you to have this religion. And so, of course, they took some of the tenets from, and this is not a religion. That's number one. It's a way of life. It's the way it is. It's the natural universal law. And used it to create, or not to create, I hate to say that, because it has nothing to do with their creation. Yeah, right, to manifest their own, or, you know, used it in their manifestation of whatever they thought they were doing, which is not a culture here. Because to me, a culture means to cultivate, nourish, flourish, you know, nurture. And look at the crop we got today. And I'm not just I'm talking about what's happening. This is, I wouldn't call this culture. So we got to get back to this. Do we see that? It takes the middleman out, and it's very simple. They used it. You know, everybody used it but us. Everybody used it but us. I'll give you another one. I'll give you one more. Now, I don't have the ticks on here, but the little dots, which are degrees that represent, as you can see, this is a season, and this is a season. I think I might change this so we can see a little better, because we're going to go to the next. Oh, here's what I wanted to show you. Also, the Coptic cross. You've all seen the Coptic cross, right?
Yeah.
There it is. Comes right off of the zodiac. All right, and we talked about this already, the cardinal points. I put it in red so you could see them and you could see the cross. Yes, son?
What is the red part? What is the red part in the center?
Where?
What is the red part?
That I just did?
In there. What is
Oh, you know what?
symbolize?
Nothing but a 360-degree circle, and I like colors, so I just put it there. But it looks like, as long as it's a circle, huh?
Like the sun.
That looks like the sun. Very good. And it is. That's what it is, because everything is going around it. So I put it there to be the center. But I didn't put it there to call it the sun. I just like dots, and like this one that I'm going to put on. But I'm going to call it the sun from now on, because it's very good. It's smaller, but we're talking about the size, so the sun can be small for this explanation. See, this one I made black because I made the lines red, so I wanted it to show up, okay? So that's the sun, and this is how the earth travels around it, because the sun does not really travel around the earth, but the reflections make it look that way, and the zodiac signs. So what you've got, you've got the zodiac signs moving, you've got the planets moving, and we're going to go into the houses that basically we're going to call stationary, because they don't move. Well, everything moves, but yeah, the planets and the signs are moving into the houses, because everything has motion. So now I've showed you the cardinal points, which we did earlier, and I wanted to show you the Coptic cross, which you see now. And also, in between every sign, season is 30 days, correct?
Yes.
Now, you know what? I didn't let this dry, but, oops. I didn't let this dry, so I have to run it again. So those little smudges are from that's what got all over me. I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, so now, here's your signs. Now, in between, this is again, here's our season: spring, summer, fall, where the sun falls, or autumn, and then winter, and then back again. And within each season are 3 months. And within each month are 30 degrees, which are liking to days when you're in astrology. And then these are broken up, which we're going to get into 3 areas, which is why I wanted to tell you that although you may be in Aries and you are ruled by Mars, you may not be ruled by Mars because 3 planets, it's called the changing of the guards, come in and rule that. But before I get there, in between, not only just the months, but the whole thing. Let's see, where Leo. Now let's start here. Let's start with Aries. It's just easier that way. You have Aries. If you count, and if you're looking at the front of the cover of the book, I put this on there. If you count every other sign from your sign. Okay, I'm doing my friend, Pisces. Here you are, that's you. If you count every other sign from your sign, that means skip this one, but go here. Skip Gemini and go to Cancer. Cancer and go to Virgo, Virgo to Scorpio, Scorpio to Capricorn, back to Pisces again. You'll find that those are one. They're all water signs, or they're all earth signs because water and earth is complementary. And right. And the same, now let's try the fire sign. Here's a fire sign, Aries. Every other one is a Gemini. It's going to be fire or air. That's it, okay? We go from Aries to Gemini, to Leo, to Libra, to Sagittarius, to Aquarius, back to Aries. Fire and air, complementary. Now, what these are called, every other sign from your sign are called deacons. Spelled D-E-C-A-N-T-S. But what do you have in the church?
Deacons.
And how many do you have? You see?
Should only be 8, huh?
Well, hey, no. Should be, got it now? Got it now? Cardinals and deacons, right off of here. Now, you heard on the tape me talk about, and I said, interesting to note that when the sun gets into Capricorn, which is the winter solstice, which starts on December 22nd, it stays there for 3 degrees, and then it rises out like resurrecting out of a grave on December 25th.
That struck me.
Okay. That is what actually happens. And you know what? What I'm telling you is not something that I went and figured out. It's written in other people's books also that actually have studied astrology and have put books out that are spiritually motivated. You know, you don't want to get the commercial ones. I've read them too, you know, commercialized ones. You know, but you know, it's all there. But so you can go and find this. In fact, 2 books I have right now have it in. A to Z Delineator and Message from the Stars by Max Hendel. It's there. And when you read it and when you see it, you're like, wow, why didn't I know that all the time? I could have figured this thing I got going on about something's wrong with this God concept a long time ago. Because it would have went, you know, like, how did it, men used to say things that make you go, you know, or I could have had a V8 or whatever they say. So that's an amazing thing. Now, in reality, that happens in Cancer too, because this is your spring equinox and that's your winter equinox. I took that one down, but that's on December the 22nd. Now, this year, for the first time in my entire life, I experienced the stillness of the sun. And it was amazing. You ever go out and it's just a beautiful night or a beautiful day or a beautiful morning or a beautiful sunrise? I was out and I was running, I guess it was December the 23rd or the 24th. It was in those 3 days. Even though days in astrology are different, it's degrees, but it ends up being equating back out to days to us. It stays there. It stayed there for those 3 days, from the 22nd to the 25th. So I was out, and it hadn't dawned on me. I missed it. You know, I had missed it. Missed that what was going on. But I was with some friends, or I was going to that. I was leaving, and there was a few people that were standing there. We were outside, and it was like, okay, see ya. And then one of them said, wow, it really is something about the night, strange or nice. And then it hit me. I said, oh, this is the winter solstice. Everything stops and kind of, you can feel, and even though everything is not really stopping, but the motions on the earth and between the cosmos makes it appear that it is. And I said, oh, this is what it is. And that's what we were feeling. It's a really interesting, I mean, it's real. It's like, you know, saying it and showing it here is one thing, but experiencing it. And
December 22nd?
well, between the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and then on the 25th, it goes and it starts moving again. This happens every year. But you're going to feel it. It's something you got to feel. Something you got to feel right. Yeah, because you never pay attention to it. It happens in spite of us. We just don't pay attention. We're not in tune to it. So it's a really nice feeling. But just to think that, you know, that was used for the Christ story, rising in 3 days, even though that was back in Easter.
At those points in the season, would that be an ideal time to start something or to stop something? Or
Absolutely.
Plan something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right into it with Mother Nature. Listen, one thing you can know is they say New Year's January 1, right? But let's think about it for a minute. When is the nature's New Year?
March.
In the spring. When everything else grows up. Why are we sitting here, you know, I mean, right? Sister, you
For the 22nd?
in the dead of winter, you know? Does that make any sense? To have the new year on January 1 when Mother Nature is bringing forth everything in the spring?
Yeah, I would think, but...
So yes, your answer to initiating at the beginning of seasons, yes.
I was going to say, I would think that it might be, the beginning would be December 22nd, because as they say, like, I believe some of the Hebrews, they were saying how day starts with night. Like, how things start to become, like, basically the void is the beginning of all things, and things come out of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, and the night then comes the new day.
And in a sense, you could say that the winter solstice is the night.
Actually, it is going into, as far as the sun goes, the progression of the sun, it is clearly going into the darker, colder days. No question about that, because it's on the side where, like here in Cancer, it is at its highest point in the summer, right? That's why Leo is where it rules Leo.
Right.
But that's the summer, because it's in the middle of the summer. It's dignified. Yeah,
But
the sun rules Leo.
Okay.
Even though it rises here, this has nothing, you know, it rises on the ascendant and represents your sun sign, whatever happens to be there. But it too rules one of the signs, and it happens to rule Leo. Why? Because it's the highest point in the heaven, right?
Yes.
And so it's going to be dignified when it's in the middle, not the beginning. It's just starting, it's initiating, right? And then by the time you get to Virgo, it's getting ready to mutate out. So it's got to be, it's dignified right here.
Okay.
Got it?
But yeah, like
sorry.
that, I mean, that's basically, if you ever read the crucifixion story that's in the Heliotext,
Yes.
that's why they was trying to hurry up and crucify him before nightfall, because that would be the Sabbath.
Yes.
And the beginning of the Sabbath is the beginning with all their days when nighttime hits. And, but like, I mean, it depends on how you're looking at it.
Well, was the Sabbath considered a Saturday to that? Do you know? Okay, but see, the beginning of your week,
They call it Good Friday, but he was
in preparation for,
but the thing is, Sabbath hit as soon as the sun go down. That's the beginning of the
right, and
next day.
Jews have that philosophy too. You know, they
Yeah,
have their
okay,
home.
Hebrews, yeah,
Hebrews, today's Hebrews have that. Yes, before the sun goes down. Yes.
And then they get, and I believe that their history is coming out of a greater understanding. This book called Stolen Legacy talks about,
Stolen legacy. Yeah, how about that?
Mystery system, yeah.
Well, they kind of, but
Based in one, basically a science that was like kind of understood by the ancient scientists, I guess,
right.
who would be documenting the way time, the way things flow, or the
Right.
order of things.
Right, right, understood. But another thing in reference to the modern day Jews of today, is it Saturday or is it Friday?
It's Friday.
Friday night.
6 o'clock.
Friday night.
Friday night,
Sun goes down.
as soon as the sun goes down.
Time is based on basically time, my understanding, is based on the elapsation between events?
I just know it's Friday evening. It's not yet dark, but it's on its way.
Yeah, they're in the middle.
In the middle, right?
They don't know, on just this one point. They don't know, is it going to go this way or is it going to go that way? Who's going to end up winning in the end? So they're kind of on the middle of the fence there.
Because like the Muslims, like you mentioned Shiites earlier.
I mentioned that only to, yeah.
In a reference user. So I'm going to use
I
the
reference.
again because the Shiites and the Sunnis, when they make their prayers, they make their prayers according to the rotation of the zodiac.
Okay,
Of the zodiac.
Yeah.
And the signs there. So they have one, what you're speaking of, when the sun is descending, they call it, the Muslims, they call it in their Arabic language, they say the Maghrib.
okay,
Setting.
right.
So, and that it's not dark, but it's like quite dusty before the darkness comes totally in.
Right. Now let me tell you something, because you're talking about rituals and
Yeah, they're rituals, right?
rituals. Now, this is my opinion about
Right.
that. Once you know this and understand the movements of nature,
Yes.
you don't need a ritual because you become that. Just in your acknowledgement of it and knowing that it exists, you are it. You become it. You live it in your daily lives. You represent it in everything that you do. You follow me now?
Follow you.
I'm not saying that anybody who's doing a ritual shouldn't do it. I didn't say that.
Right, I'm just using them for a reference point.
Yes, I understand, but I wanted to,
Yeah.
you talked about the prayer that's done 5 times a day or whatever that they have, and I just wanted to make that point out.
The Christians, the cardinals, and the deacons, how they did that. So I says, okay, then when you got into that, I says, okay,
Now you see how they do their
they do
thing.
theirs.
Everybody's doing their thing
Right.
off of this thing that, it's not thing, laws of nature that is there in spite of whatever anybody's doing.
That's true.
So why you cut the middleman out? You know, the guide concept is gone, and this is why this was banned. And you know, from the, like I said, the men, the theologians, which are just men of theory, and it was banned and actually to kill the civilization and the culture. This is why, because now you're not going to believe in God anymore, and from their perspective. It's more wickeder than what it appears.
That's interesting because in the Quran, because I read it, and someplace I was sitting, the Bible and the Quran, so I was just going through those. I was going through the Bible and the Quran, and I noticed in the Quran, I heard this in the Bible also about the zodiac, it speaks about the zodiac, but I know it's in the Quran.
Okay. It's in the Bible too.
It's in the Bible, but
It's in the Circle 7.
Circle said,
It's everywhere, actually, but people don't recognize it. But go ahead. What is in the Quran?
it speaks about the zodiac. What you're speaking of, it speaks, what is it?
What does it say? I mean, what position is it? Because see, in the Helios Bibliothèque.
Pay attention to the signs of the zodiac.
Okay. Okay, good.
It's how do you say it?
Uh-huh.
Consolation or something like that.
Okay.
And
So do they do it?
no,
No.
they don't.
Okay. No. But it says it.
But it says that.
Okay. Right. I mean, there's a lot of contradictions. See, what it is, and I don't even want to say contradistinctions. I like that word. I do. I like that word. That we live under every day, and it's like once you realize it, it's like, oh, wow. That's just like I said, once you know this, it's you. And that's my intention is, and when we get to the aspects, which are the most complicated that people see in astrology, but hopefully I'm going to break it down to make sense, and this is all part of it because you got to get the foundation of what's happening. There's a bunch of wheels going on, but every last one of them use the same principle. That's why I'm saying the principle. The season comes in, it's initiated, it's fixed, it mutates. You have houses, which we're going to go into next. It's angular, accescendent, or it's cadent. It means the same thing as fixed, cardinal, fixed, and mutated. You got me now? There's 4 elements in the zodiac signs: fire, air, water, and earth. Complementary of fire and air, water and earth are complementary. And there's 4 types of houses: house of life, house of wealth, house of relationship, and houses of endings. So everything is correlated. And also, did you notice the 7 there? The 3 times 4? It's always 3 by 4. And I told you there's only 7 main ruling powers. It's exacting science. It does not fail. It will never fail you, ever. And it's your knowledge that yeah, and once you start utilizing it, man, you know, they worried about you conjuring together. Well, this is why. Because you might come up with something. That's nothing compared, don't even worry about that compared to what can happen now. Because, as I mentioned, we're in the age of Aquarius. It is the age of knowing. But what people forget is, because opposites, as we call it, they're really 180-degree polar reflections, not necessarily opposites, okay? Reflections. Leo's here too. You gotta be. You can't be in Aquarius without being in Leo. It's just like if you go back to the biblical times and they talk about Aries, the lost Moses, Aries, right? Lost sheep, right? Aries, ram, sheep. And they talked about Judgment Day. That's what's up in there. Lost people and being judged. Libra, the scales, the balance. Then they went into Pisces when Jesus Christ was born, right? Okay, they talked about, you see cars, you'll see cars that have Jesus' name in a fish. You ever wonder why? Well, that's why. There it is. Right? Now, so if Pisces was in with Jesus, and by the way, it's the house of secrets, keep that in mind for 1 second, okay? Then, who else did they talk about?
Virgin Mary.
The Virgin Mary, his mother. You getting it now?
Yeah. So what about
Symbolic. Once you know this, you'll see everything.
Okay, I have a question. Now they're talking about, I guess for maybe a few years now, Aquarius and Leo.
Yeah, when the moon is in the 7th sign and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planets and love will steer the stars. This is the dawning of the age of, we almost want to sing it, right? Okay. That's where we are now. Would you like me to explain what that means? Okay. What that means is, so, you know, it's funny because, again, I got to go back and reflect. I recall the 70s. Great time. No question a great time. Because even today, the music we had is still out, but they got some other stuff they're talking about on it that, you know, is cool, but it's not cool. It's all about sex and exploitation and lust, and that's a shame, because that's the lower self, and that's messing with our children. Really, we should have been doing this and teaching them a long time ago. But we thought that what else was happening was something better, and it is not and never will be, and you'll come back to find that out. And you may have to come back a lot more and go through a lot more suffering, and there will be a lot of suffering than what you had you done it when you were supposed to. But then again, we're all supposed to be where we are right now, so that's the way that goes. Right? So I just remember that in the 70s, people were, there was a certain consciousness going on in the 70s. They were already off the planet already. It was an off-the-planet kind of experience, right? I remember lots of groups. The Fifth Dimension, by the way, look at the name. Fifth Dimension did. Yeah, but you know, they probably couldn't.
Fire did something.
Earth, Wind, and Fire, there's your elements. I'm thinking, there's plenty more. Maybe I should make a list. But
Stevie Wonder, he did.
Yeah, Songs of the Key of Life, and oh my goodness, there's other groups that never even brainstorm, the whole bit. So, all right, here we are. So they're talking about the age of Aquarius back 30 years ago, and now some people question, are we there, or are we still at the dawning? We're there. If we're at the dawning, we're there. That's what's happening, that's what's up, that's where we gotta go. That's where we're going. Besides, an age is 2,166 years. Oh, and that's another interesting thing. Doesn't it say that, quote, unquote, the devil shall rule for 2,000 years?
Yes.
Isn't it 2,000 years now? According to their book? According to their book, to the book. Because, see, it's not what's in the Bibliotech or the Bible, it's what's not in it. Or it's the failure to know how to interpret it. Like, for instance, the book of Barnabas isn't in it, should be. The book of Thomas which is from the quote-unquote secret teachings of Jesus, should be, because it talks about the collaboration and creation of universes. That's what the book of Thomas talks about, if you read it. If you read it, it's kind of difficult, because at first you have no idea, but one thing you do know is that it's talking about pre-Genesis clearly. It ends with genetics or genesis of the bibliotheliotech. That's how it ends. That's not how it begins. Now genetics, Genesis begins. So it's definitely definitely a science book, and pre this existence. So Aquarius. The key word for Aquarius is I know. You know what? I don't have that one up. Let me put that one up. In fact, let me put something else up that might even be a little bit more interesting. Since we're although I really like to have the wheel up because I want it to get in your mind. 360 is infinite, it never ends. Okay, I don't have one that has the keys. No, I don't. All right, that's all right, I'll do it. All right, Aquarius, it says, I know. I forgot to put those in there. I'm supposed to have them right there. I know, I use, I see. Wow, I desire. Aquarius, yeah, that's interesting. I'm going to show you that correlation. Aquarius says, I know. And Leo says, some people says, I will. But I explained, I create is the same thing as willing, right?
Which one says that?
Leo. In fact, wow.
Like making interesting, I will now. But in my mind, I'm saying, like, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to make this.
Yes. So creating and willing are the same things, because the things that you will and create being the same. My will be done, my will be done. That means create. Man's biggest problem is manifesting his thoughts into creation, into physical, right? So first you think it,
Then you will it.
then you will it, and we know if you spell it, it's done. That means if you actually write out what it is you want to do. That's why they call it spelling. People around here talking about spells and potions. No, it's just what it says. If you think it first, or conceive it, has to be conceived, which is thought, right, or forethought. Then you conceive it first. I'm sorry, and then you actually do it, right? Thought. I had the three things put down. Conceive it, whatever they should say, conceive it, believe it, and achieve it. Okay, so first you're going to think it, and then you're going to, it's the thought, the word, and then you're going to do it. That's the three, that's the charm, right? That's how that works. So, I lost my train of thought on what I was saying right there with that, with the
will.
Okay, so the will be done is the actual doing, Think it, right?
Willing.
Right. Word and then, so that means if you speak it, which is why it's very, very important, and this is the hardest lesson for everyone to learn, and I'm included, that's why I'm here, is what you say. What you say, don't you think? It's coming back. Saturn's going to make sure everything you do and say. See, first of all, if a person is thinking, you ever be with someone and what they do is they say they're going to do one thing and they do another, and you sitting there saying, well, why'd you do that? I don't understand why they did that. Because they thought to do it. That's why they did it. It's just that simple.
Like I said last night, my buddy, he's Gemini, he said he's going to, and I said, don't say that, man, because I know you're not.
Right, okay, and see, you're Leo, right?
I'm a Leo.
All right, now let me say this. So you have to think everything that you're gonna. If you need to get up and go get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, you have actually thought and actually visualized and done it in your mind before you got up out the seat and did it. And it's so quick that you don't really know that. Then you do it. So what I was saying is if you spell what it is, that's why people say write down. People write down what they're going to do every day instead of your mind. But if you actually spell it, that means you're thinking it, you're speaking it, you're writing it, which is spelling it, it shall be done. So, we were talking about rituals and all. You don't need all of that. You are it. back to where we are, age of Aquarius. Aquarius is I know. Leo is I create, and you'll see I will, but we understand now that will and create is same thing. And create, and why are children associated with Leo? Because you create them. That's why. So that's why the children are in that house. So if you know something, well, if you can create something, you must know something, right? And if you know something, then you ought to be creating it, right? Same thing with Taurus. Wow, I can't put this up. Taurus is, here we have Taurus. Taurus is, I have. It's 180 polar. Reflection is, I desire. What you desire, you usually have. And what you possess is what you desire. Right? Usually, right? Isn't that how to go? Same thing with, okay, here we have Aries and we have Libra. Aries is about, I seek myself, period. They just, I am. So they're about self.
That's what Moses said, I am. No, I am.
I am that I am, right. There you go. Right, right. So Libra is about a unite, partnership. Now here is, and because last night I think Brother had mentioned that we need to look at the female-male polarity thing. This is it. I unite.
I unite?
Yeah.
Well, can you say I become?
No.
I unite. Okay.
Well, I have not heard or used I become. But you know, let's think about that. No. Because I want you to think of this as the man being born. Man is being born in the zodiac, okay? Just think about this for a second.
Okay.
You know, from this perspective. All right, he's a baby. He's being born. He doesn't know anything. He comes in. He says, wow, I am. No, I don't know what I am. I don't know, but I am. And he says, whoa, wow, I have. Right? Now, he could be thinking what he has, hands, arms, legs, feet. But in our world, in our lower self, we're talking about possessions of physical, material possessions. And so now, he says, I am. He says, I have. He says, and Gemini, he realizes he can think. He says, I think, which means if you're thinking, you can communicate. Because if you can't think, you aren't communicate very well. And then he realizes he has feelings in Cancer, so he says, I feel. And then he realizes that he can create, so he says, I create, or will. And then in here, although Virgo is the house of health and service, Virgo people were very analytical. I analyze. Because man realizes that he could do that. Well, once he analyzes, he gets to Libra, which, by the way, you know, we're up the upper half here. We're halfway, midway. Libra, scales, balances, is all put together just as it divinely. And Libra says, I unite. Uniting, and what she's going to unite is the bottom with the top. All things that we know right now. So, man says, I am, I have, I think, I feel, I create, I analyze. Very exacting. You ever deal with Virgos? They analyze to the end of the world. Right. Too much, sometimes. And they're mutable, so they can't make up their mind. But here comes the scales. I balance or I unite. Man realizes he has desires, right? Mental exploration, I see or I aspire, meaning, oh, I see because, well, let me just go through it and then we'll do the polars. And then he realized, yes?
I'm saying, what would be the difference between aspiration and desire?
Because aspiring to a higher mental level. Desires are just worldly desires.
External, one is dealing with the
external one, right. Which is why Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto are higher octave planets. They're dealing with the higher octave of, okay. You got it? Okay. And so, right. I see is what I usually put on there because I like to explain it like this as somebody being born. Okay. I see. I have, I am, I have, I think, I feel, I create, I analyze, I unite, I desire, I see, or aspire, I use. Capricorns are very using people, positively or negative. It depends on which way they use it. They're into social status. And I know, I believe, and it's ending. Pisces is from the age of belief. Now we're in the age of knowing. Although the signs go this way, the ages go the other way. Okay, so we came out of Pisces and we're into I know. Think about it for a second. House of Secrets. Isn't everything being exposed about now?
Yeah, everything's been exposed. Everything.
All the secret societies are on TV now being exposed. They started exposing the Catholics in the church, messing with the little children. I'm sure we could all think of many more. Skeletons are coming out of the closet. You have to be who you are, and you better know what you know. If you don't, you better ask somebody, because it's time to know, not believe anything. People do not any longer, they're questioning their religious situation because they see flaws in that, because it really doesn't make sense.
I understand the concept now with the Jesus Christ theory when, Moses with the ram. And people wanted to still worship the ram when it was out of the ram had passed.
Yes.
And now they're into the age of Pisces.
Right. And this is the golden calf
That's
age.
when Jesus.
Taurus was the golden calf age.
Yeah.
And Gemini was upper and lower Egypt. The duality, upper and lower Egypt. So they didn't want to do this. Now you're getting it. Now you're telling me that you're able to read that symbolically.
Well, actually, because I was once I'm in Egypt, in one of the pyramids, I looked up, and you can see that the astrology chart of it's like, well, that is interesting.
You'll see the astrology chart in the City Hall in Philadelphia in the middle of the courtyard.
I couldn't speak to Arabic to the guy and say, like, explain that to me. Why is that there?
But it would have been nice if you had. But now let me say one other thing. I had a guy come to me and say, I tried to get into astrology, but I was reading about all these mythological people, right. And I said, cut. They're talking about the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. Now, their interpretation of it, which some of it is codified for them in history. Mythology, just like it says. Mythology, a myth. Our stuff is written on the walls and the pyramids. The pyramids. You asked me about the pyramids. Our stuff is written on the walls in stone. But yet you want to go listen to a myth and you don't believe in what is in stone already there, left for you by your ancestors to find your way back, and they'll find their way back. And yes, as the young man said, the pyramids were built, and they're like an airplane that comes in and has the lights at the runway lights, right? A beacon. That's what the pyramids sort of represent navigationally to the heavens, or to the cosmos. And that's proven also in what appears to be landing strips that they found. They make you, we have without question been, it says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. It's time to know. That's why we're in the age of knowing. And for all those who don't come in the light, or as it says in the poem, well, hey, one warning is all you're going to get. Many are chosen, and actually the truth is, you choose yourself. And ain't nobody choosing you. You're choosing yourself. That's it. So we're in age of knowing, which means a lot of the secrets that have been kept are being exposed. The Masonic orders are getting to get.
The Europeans' imaginary hold on us.
Right.
Something
Right.
like that.
Yeah. Yes, sister.
How long does an age last?
2,166 years.
Yeah, right?
Yes, long time. But what I found interesting is, again, that it's 2,000 years now, and something's supposed to be over. Something's supposed to be over. So maybe something is over.
And I heard they also play with the time, in a way they change the time.
Yes.
The Gregorian calendar is like a little bit off, a lot off.
Well, actually, yes, the Gregorian calendar is off. I know about that. For instance, since you mentioned it or brought it up, give you something to think about for a minute. Octagon is 8-sided.
Polygon.
It's an 8-sided geometrical thing, right? Scepter, okay, octagon is 8-sided. So wouldn't October be 8th month?
That's right.
Decimal is 10. Wouldn't December be the 10th month? Nueve, there's another one. November, Nueve would be the 9th month. Scepter, 7-sided, would be the 7th month for September. So yes, yes. And by 500 and, is it 580 years?
I'm not exactly sure.
580. 500 what?
586.
I used to,
I don't know.
no, it's an even number. It's 580 because 8 and 5 is 13.
I think it's 580.
It's 580, it's 13. 'Cause that's another thing about numbers. If you get into numbers in numerology and understand numbers, it's all divinely done. Like I said, the 3 and the 4 is constantly in here. So we understand that the polarity differences between, so you really, if you want to remember, kind of like do some of this and remember there are keys. Think of only 6 signs and remember their opposites, and you got it. And you really must do that in order to really be able to get to see things, you know, and because you got to quickly be able to say. This is like right now, they said the age of Aquarius is there, well, so is Leo.
Say that again?
If the age of Aquarius is here, then so is Leo. You know that. Automatically.
So you just now said it.
Well, I'm saying, if you learn the 6 signs and then learn their opposites, then you'll know it. Right.
All right, now listen. I hear that about the 12 signs or 12 prophets and things like that. But sometimes they would mention a 13, an extra, like the sun or something, or the sun of the planet.
Just like the little man said right here. This is the 13th. I'm going to show you that.
Like it had a movie.
I'll put this back in here. The 13th is you. Whoops. Right there in the center.
13th
No, is you, right there in the center. Little, what's your name, son? Otiama. Pleased to meet you, my son. He said that was the sun. He's vibing, and it is. Because your body is a temple. It is Solomon's temple, right? Solomon equates to soul of man, and it equates to solar man. So that's the 13th right there, the center. It is in you. You're it.
Same thing with Christ and the Father.
In the Christ. That's, if you want to, that's Jesus. And they pinned him to the cross, so they say. That's a good thing then, isn't it? Because this is justice. This is it. The code name for Jesus is justice. So they pinned him to the cross. And you think it's a bad thing and you're feeling bad for him. And, you know, and some of us, even back in the day, when we were growing up, I know my age, and, you know, somewhere around there, we had a picture of Jesus on the wall. He was white. Then we started thinking, wait, well, I was saying he was white. No, he was colored, actually. That's what they are, colored. So, yeah, and then you had Kenny there, too. And then you never thought that, well, if he was bent down almost to a 90, oh, I didn't do nothing, did I?
No, you did not.
Thank you. Almost to a 90-degree angle, the thorn, or wreath of thorns that was on his head would have fallen off with their type hair.
Yes.
But with our type hair, typically, right? Because it even has a description. It says what? It says feet of bronze and hair of wool. Let's hold it right there for 1 second. If any one of us or you or anyone went to church, went to Sunday school, I did, I went to Sunday school, and read that, and still walked around and didn't accept the fact that it was you, we got a serious, serious problem.
I would say.
And that's kind of where we are right now, waking up. Think about that for a minute. And your parents didn't know any better. That's unfortunate. That is a very unfortunate thing, that parents didn't know to teach their children differently. But we have to stop that cycle. We must, we must, we must, we must, we must, we must. How many times did I say that? 9, I believe. 9, yeah. We have to.
You didn't say creed, I said,
Yeah, we have to. We have to. You know, and you couldn't tell them to take them off the wall. Because why? Because in our mind, there was someone coming to save us.
I have something
And, you know.
interesting I want to say. Now, in our homes, our families had the photo of Jesus, the European guy. But I used to be with a European female a long time ago. And in her home, my mother's home, they had a photo of Jesus looking like you and I from Ethiopia. She said, no, that's the real Jesus. I was like,
He's not, yeah, it looks like me. It can't be me.
argue this. It's like,
Yeah. Well, that's because that's how far we have fallen, and that's how much we don't know. And that's how much we don't know, and that's how far we have fallen. Okay, let's go into, so I want to get to the aspects, because that is the true difference in your sign. Okay, now I'm going to get to the houses. Do I have that? Let's go to the houses. All right. You're going to find this interesting, I think. We talked about the planets. No, we've talked about the planets and the signs that move around or through the houses. Well, let's see what these houses are that they're moving through. Okay? Is that big enough to see? What, down like this? Oh, that makes a whole different thing? Oh, I see. Okay. Let's look at the houses. I already told you that they are broken up into 3 types, which is 4 categories: life, wealth, relationship, endings. Angular, succedent, and cadent. Angular, succedent, and cadent is equivalent to cardinal, big, cardinal, cardinal, mutable. Cardinal, fixed, mutable. Say it again.
Cardinal, fixed, and
Mutable. Okay, we could say flexible too, because mutable is like the same, means to be flexible and be able to bend and change. You know how you have the mutant turtles, the teenage mutant, did you have those? Okay, well that was, my son came out here. Yeah, that mutant means to change, to mutate from one thing to the next. That's what mutate means. So we're going to say flexible for you. We can say cardinal, because I want you to guys understand that sometimes you're going to see, and throughout this, when I put this up, I'm going to give you the other words too, because you'll see them as well. And I want you to know them when you see them, because that's what it's all about. Like, for instance, I saw in one book they called temporal, and I said, wow, what is temporal house? So after I went and reviewed it, they're just talking about one of these categories of life. They decided to call the wealth house temporal. That's all. So, you know, you just got to know these things. You got to be able to. I like it this way because it breaks down to me and is very explanatory. So, angular, succedent, and cadent is the same as cardinal.
cardinal, fixed, and mutable.
All right, okay. And life, wealth, relationships, and endings, which we haven't gotten into yet, is the same as fire, air, earth, and water. Okay? Now, here we go. The houses of life is where all the fire signs reside. The houses of wealth is where all the earth signs reside. Is this starting to make sense? The houses of relationship are where the air signs reside. And the houses of endings are where the water signs reside. Yes?
I have a question. If, one thing that confuses me is if every person has a different ascendant when you were born, it shifts which planet or which signs are in which house. And I know that each sign has a ruling planet, which makes it, is that what keeps it the same? Like allowing the first, the fifth, and the ninth house to all be fire because of the ruling planet?
No. But here's what I'm saying. I'm giving to you the foundation of the cosmos. These are the houses. These are the types of the houses, and they are related to the signs. In other words, all the signs have a place that they call home. The fire signs, the 3 fire signs, right, call the houses of life, which are the first house, right here, the 5th house, right here, and then the 9th house. Those are the houses of life, right? that's where you'll find the fire signs on the wheel.
But not on like every person's wheel.
No, we're talking just generally. This is where they lay. As far as where you're going to find them when they're moving around, that's different. But understanding that this is a house of wealth is the first thing you must know, so that whatever sign is in that house, when it moves around on your chart, that sign is affecting your house of wealth. Okay?
Which is an earthly thing, right? 'Cause it's,
Well, the wealth signs happen to represent
right.
all of the earth signs. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay? You got it, ma'am? Okay. That's how that works. Same thing. And that's why I was saying that they have their homes. And I wanted you to see the correlation on here of where they are, because they don't change. The signs do not, they are consecutive, they stay the same. You don't have to wonder about where they're going to be. They're going to be right behind each other in a consecutive order. The moon, on the other hand, because the moon has its own cycle, could be anywhere. And then Mercury, Mars, Venus, which we'll get into, usually it can be right behind your sun sign, and usually is, which is why sometimes you can have so many in one sign. It's not unusual. It's not unusual at all. In fact, if you have Mercury rising before your sun sign in a higher degree, you know, you are really quick with it. You know, if you have it running a little lower, it doesn't mean that you're not, but you understand what I'm saying, because Mercury is your reasoning and thinking power. Gives you your reasoning and thinking mind. That's what Mercury does, but it also controls health. I think it controls health because I'm trying to equate that it means if we worry too much about things, we destroy our health. That's what I think. But anyway, so now do you understand what I'm trying to say about the houses now? So these are the houses. Think of them as being stationary. They're sitting there. This is what they control. They're in your neighborhood. Now the houses of relationships are where all the air signs are going to want to hang out at, because that relationships and air, you know, and then the houses of, as the sister said, wealth, that makes sense with earth, and the houses of water make sense with the Indians. Still waters run deep. You know, we come in through the water, and they actually go out through the fire. We'll come in through the fire, but in the water. So people who are water signs, if you know any of them, they're Pisces, Scorpio, and like I don't know this, right? Cancer, and just you know, they are emotional, imaginative. You know, I kind of got an explanation of them on the next page. So the angular houses, what does that mean? It means the same thing as cardinal.
Cardinal, fixed, and mutable.
That's right. And what's cardinal mean?
Cardinal is
To start something.
start something. Fixed is middle of something, and mutable is
To change out. And that happens every season. When the spring comes and the summer, for the 3 months of the season, that's what happens. When March comes, it's cardinal, because it starts the spring, right? And then April's in the middle of the spring, and then May it mutates out, right? Or I'm sorry, June, because actually I'm saying March, but really everybody knows it's mostly all of April. Okay, so the houses are at the angles, the angular houses, which is what we were comparing to, are just like the cardinals. They're at the angles they're on the angles at the cardinal points where the seasons change, right? Now, in your chart, any planets that end up in that house will be prominent, dignified, glorified, stronger, have a stronger influence because they're in an angular house. This is how you begin to understand, to really do your natal chart. You know how you say, well, that could be this, that could be that. Use this, because this is where it's at. This is what it means. If it ends up in a house that is cated, which is mutable, it can go either way if there's another planet there, because all of this depends on what other signs and planets are in the house with you. It's like if I came over to your house and I have this certain energy, well, it depends on what other energy is there, how that will work out, you know what I mean? So it all depends on that, but how you determine it is knowing what the foundation is. If you're in a sustenance house, which is mutable, which is flexible, and 9 out of 10, your situation is going to crash. And whoever the stronger planet is, you can forget about the other planet because the other one's going to win out. You see what I mean? And that's how you start understanding. Especially if it's like a Mars or a Saturn or something, which consider malefic, but there are no malefic or bad planets at all. It's a matter of how you look at it. Their energy is so dynamic, or they have dynamic nature. That's what it is. And Mars, you know, I like to bring it down to Mars like to pick a fight, because he's your planet of action. Action means action. And includes your physical fight nature or whatever. And in fact, Mars rules Aries. Aries governs the physical body, so the self. So if he's in there, and then there's a situation, he's going to sort of exemplify the action part. You know, he's going to outrule it. Because that's just his nature. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. It's just who I am. That's what he does. Yes, sir.
That's what I am.
That's what I am. I am what I am.
How come asteroids aren't included?
Well, you know what? Asteroids are included in terms of affecting you. Yes, they are. Everything up there affects you. In fact, this whole thing about astrology is infinite. You could go on and on and on and on. But this is the basis for understanding mostly what you need to understand in terms of what is the heavier influences here. But you could go on and on. Everything affects you. But I say that if you don't at least have this, no matter what else comes your way, you have no idea what you're standing on, the foundation that you're on. And this is why it's important to know this. So we understand Anglo-Saxon?
So like, just kind of what he was saying, like when them asteroids hit Jupiter, I'm not asteroids, but the meteors hit Jupiter, somebody born in that, what do you think they would be? Like, remember when they had, I think back
Jupiter.
You know, Jupiter was hit by some meteors recently. Maybe it was like 10 years ago.
Because Jupiter was coming here, that's why.
Right, and that kind of threw a curve in figuring out this, like, and would it be having a significant
No.
influence on somebody's being? Okay.
No, because the planets are coming. I'm trying to find where I have the time, how fast. I think it's every 8 years Jupiter moves. Is it every 8 years? I got it right here. Okay, here we are, Jupiter. Sorry. It stays in, it's not 8 years. It's Uranus that's every 7 years. Jupiter is it takes 12 years for it to go around the entire solar system. But it stays in one place for 1 year. And then after that, you have Saturn. It stays in one place for 2.5 years, 7 years for Uranus, 13 years for Neptune, and 20 years for Pluto, which is why Pluto and Uranus is known to affect generations of people, because they're in the generation. They're in the same place for so long. So, of course, they're going to affect the whole generation of people that are born. They're going to have those same natures. But as far as an asteroid, I mean, the activity, in fact, if it wasn't for certain things, we would probably, that are in the cosmos, I mean, the asteroids are flying around all the time, right? They're flying around all the time.
My understanding, they got an orbit between Mars and Jupiter.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
Totally outside of Pluto, too.
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot that is out there. I mean, I was looking and looking at all the moons, as he was saying, that belong to, you know, everybody's talking about the Charon now. It's a moon of Pluto.
Moon of Pluto.
A moon of Pluto.
What?
So I got to look into that, right?
I heard that Pluto was a moon of Neptune.
And probably, no. They never knew about Pluto. Or they said they never knew about Pluto. Pluto was the last one that kind of came into the system, so they say.
Right.
Okay? But all of them intertwine, right, see it up there? All of them intertwine, and that's why with understanding that and understanding doing your natal chart, you'll understand who you are, because you're made of what is out there. There's no question. And once you understand the basis of that, then if you like to go out to the next solar system and so on, do so. But don't go without the principles of of his. Yeah, you have to. Huh? It's just like people saying that they're going to go, I forgot what you used to say, that they're going to go, yeah, and they don't even know what is on this plane.
Right.
Yeah. You know? Yes.
Well, you guys were talking about asteroids, and isn't Chiron an asteroid? And doesn't have an astrologer start looking at that in the past, like, 30 years?
Like Chiron.
Or Chiron, I don't know.
Chiron.
Oh, okay.
And that might be a Chiron, K-I-R-N.
No, C-H-I-R-O-N?
Chiron.
Chiron.
Some people say Chiron, but it's Chiron.
Oh, all right. But isn't that an asteroid?
Now, I just read it's a moon of Pluto.
Oh, really?
See, you read it's an asteroid. They don't know what it is.
Oh.
It's something that is that has a course, and it's back on its course, and who knows? That course, we talked about, we're talking about the 10 that we know, including the sun and the moon. 20 years, we've got Pluto out, right? Charon could only come around every 2,000 years. And so they're finding they're finding so many. What I'm saying is that there's not just this 10, but I can guarantee you that these 10 are what affects us here directly and should know our, you feel me? First. And then do daily transits based on them, as you would mention if you want to. Are there others? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's infinite. But it's important to know the basis. Because once you get here, you're off the planet. And then when you go wherever it's a great thing. It's a great thing. It really is. Because it starts to make sense when it was so difficult before. So I want you to ask any question that you might have as we go through here. Okay. All right, so now we have the angular, the succedent, and the cadent. The fixed.
It was, the first one was
Fixed. Cardinal.
Cardinal, fixed, and mutable.
Thank you. Now, the houses are the same way, and they're in the same place. This is Aries, cardinal. This is an angular, same as cardinal. Gives you, it's stronger. Whatever planet is in there, because it's at an initiating point, is going to be stronger. And then you have your succedent house, which is the same as fixed. So whatever is there is not going to be weakened, nor is it going to be strengthened. It is just going to it's just going to stand on its own merits. So that helps you when you go to a house that's cadent, that is very flexible and can weaken, so you can forget about it being a fight when there's 2 planets in and one is stronger than the other. It's over, because this one's going to bow down. Unless the planet that is in this house is the planet that rules this house. Okay, we haven't gotten it yet. We're going to get there. I'm going to pull that together for you, but you understand what I'm saying?
Not really clear.
For each house, there's a planet that rules it.
Right.
Believe me, when you go to the book,
Yeah, I see it right here.
I put it on the outside, right? It's also on the inside. But there's a planet that rules it for each house. So that means that planet is comfortable in this particular house.
Oh.
This is my house. This is my domain. You are the planets, the other planets, and the zodiac are visiting my house. But I'm in charge here. I'm comfortable. My essence is here. Okay? All right, you got me now? So now here comes another planet or sign, and they're in my house. So, depending on the situation and what it's covering, like if it's 2 planets that one could be stronger than the other, if it ends up in this cadent house that's mutable, it's going to fall, the weaker one, without question. Unless, see, because all the planets are not always home.
Right.
In fact, they're the ones that's moving. But their essence is in their home.
Right.
They rule this house, even if someone else comes to visit it. You got it?
Would it be totally phased out, say if Pluto visited Taurus house?
No. All of the planets visit all of the houses. In fact, it's about a party at all the houses. For some reason, the planets and the signs need to, gotta go to all of these houses.
What I mean is sometimes are they at their weakest in certain houses?
Yes, and I'm going to put that one up next because that's really interesting.
Okay.
So that when you're looking at your chart, I can guarantee you there are planets who absolutely are weakened when they're in certain places and totally are debilitated, totally fall in others. And you got to know that. So if you look and you see that this planet is here, the sun that gets weakened in Libra. Why? Why does it get weakened in Libra?
Mars, you talking about?
The sun. Why does it weaken in Libra?
Because Libra needs balance, unity, and the sun is like,
I will.
Yeah. Close, but no cigar. We didn't want no cigar anyway. Because Libra, when I did the precession, is on the descendant line.
Oh, okay.
And the sun is getting ready to fall into the darker months. So it begins to weaken there. And Libra is right there.
That's since you're in the northern hemisphere, right?
What do you mean? The hemispheres don't change.
Because I thought like
Do you have a question about the fact?
you're stronger than I'm in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, but that's the southern, but this is the southern hemisphere.
Oh, just hit me.
Yeah.
When you said the southern, you see Jordan, when you said what you said.
Let me show you why.
There's a guy named astronaut, he used to do astrology. He's an old astronaut, French guy. Nostradamus.
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 Uh-huh.
He was into the astrology. He said that this Messiah or someone or a group of people is going to come from the south. But he's talking about the north. He's
Yep.
going to invade the north
Yep.
and conquer the.
Yep. All right, listen to this. Because, I mean, I'm wondering if anybody ever had the question, because I had the question too. I just couldn't figure it out. I've done wheels. I've had Aries at 12 o'clock. I've had Aries over here. I've had, you know, and it doesn't really, I mean, it does matter because you need to learn it correctly, but no matter where you put it, because it's 360, it's always going to come out right in terms of what's next to it because it's 360. So even when you see it and it's not corrected like I have on here, I got Aries, I mean, it's there, but in really learning where it is, the Aries rises on the ascendant, and so it's going to be at 9 o'clock. That is not correct. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful piece right here. I would love to have this right here in my home. No, it's a mix. You can cut the light out. I don't need it. Where is it? Oh, you got it? See that piece right there? This is a beautiful, oh man, wouldn't you like to have this like a, you know, as a rug or a tapestry or some kind? It's so nice. But it is a mixture of, just to give you an example, I believe it's, I don't know if it's some sort of Hindu or whatever, but this is their thing. They put it all together as such. So you will see a lot of things and think, oh yeah, hey, this is Zodiac. I'm telling you, you need to know what it really, really is supposed to be, and what somebody does with it is one thing. That's why I gave the progression of the sun. That's the only, that's why that foundational message was there. It starts here. So, like you were saying about planets falling, being detriment. Yeah, I'm going to put that up. That's a real interesting study. It was mind-blowing for me. But the sun, for instance, starts falling in Libra.
Okay.
That is not even a one that has Libra. That's a house one. Libra and the descendant. Where is my travel? It falls in Libra because, and see, this is when it starts to make sense. It's common sense. And when you can apply common sense, here we go. Let's go back here to this one. Okay? The sun falls or begins to fall is detrimented in Libra. Because as it travels, when it gets to Libra, it's on the descendant line. Descend means to fall. It's falling. The sun's falling. See? And that's what happens to all the planets as well. They have spots that, they have basically 4 spots. Their home, which is why I was showing you where their home was. It's important to know that. They're strongest in their home, just like you're strongest in your home. And then they have their detriment part, which you're going to find real interesting. It's the 180-degree opposite. Then, right.
The one underneath the degree opposite.
180-degree polar.
180. Okay.
180. 180.
Right across.
The polar.
Right.
Then they have their exalting. The sun is exalted, or the planets are exalted in certain other places, signs. So then they'll be exalted, right? Right?
Air.
Exalted.
Exalted the sun.
Because why? Because it's getting ready to come and do its thing. Because remember, it becomes truly dignified right here. So it's on the road to its exaltation. Its highest point is in Cancer. Its highest point is in Cancer, which is the summer solstice. But when you break this into the 90-degree angle and the season, which keeps repeating itself, cardinal fixed mutable, in, initiate, the in, out, then it would have to be right there where it gets totally dignified in the summer.
And I love this, the best part of the year for me.
It's the best part of the year for most people.
Right now.
It's beautiful. I mean, I would say to you, remember I told you about the sun stopping at winter solstice for 3 days and then coming back alive on the 25th? It does the same thing in the summer solstice. It's just that they didn't use the summer because, we couldn't be out there having too much fun praising the Lord, Jesus, in the summer. Not us. Oh, no. Keep them in the winter. So now that so yes, you asked an important question. Again, this is why this is important to get this foundation right here. And then let's go to the planetary. Well, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that we get through the houses first, that we understand the houses. Very, very important. These are, I should make this bigger and I will next time. These are the houses that the planets and the sun seem to enjoy going to visit all the time. These are the planets, the houses of your life. That's what they are. You have Aries, which is a life house. It happens to be a life house as opposed to a wealth house or a relationship house or an ending house. But it gives you your, now the words are gonna be a little different in the houses than they are in the signs. Okay? A little bit more. These are the houses, okay. Aries is your light or energy. So what does that mean? When you do your chart, whatever is in this house, whatever planet ends up in this house, it could be a planet that rules something else, of course, but it ends up in this house, or whatever sign ends up in this house, it represents your energy. So if you got a sign that has weak vitality by its nature in your first house, then you're gonna have weak vitality. You got it? And you have to learn what the planets are, what they represent, what the signs are, and what they represent. So, and it seems complicated, but it's really not. It comes together. Once you get the foundation, that's like anything else. It's just like raising our children. Give them the foundation, they'll come together in the end. You take one child that you raise with the good foundation, as we might want to call it. You take one that you didn't get it. The one that has the good will come back to what mama taught him in the end after he's finished going nuts around 13 to 16 to 17. Yeah, but the one who never got it will have a harder time because, they might be devoured. They might be devoured by that time, especially in these days and time, or they got to learn it over again. All right, so it's come together, right? It's real exciting. Okay.
Question.
Yes.
Because it tries to say Jesus came in they used that in the house of Pisces. But what did Muhammad? I know what Jesus is about Jesus and Moses, but which one was Muhammad Ali?
Muhammad Ali?
No, not Muhammad Ali.
I know. I liked Muhammad Ali.
And Ali.
Oh, those were.
I didn't study it. Oh, okay. Yes, I do know.
In relation to?
I do know. Just give me a second. Well, the secrets. Robert Jordan came during the secrets.
The end of the secrets. Right?
Yeah, the end. He was coming in to bring you into the dawning. Yes. He was definitely coming in to bring you into the dawning. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, so we have that. So we have the house of life. Now, what makes sense to me, and when I told you that the fire signs belong to the earth, to the houses of life, do you see why now?
Yeah.
Because the first house is the house of fire. It's energy. The second house is the house of fire. It's creativity. We're still talking about creating, right? Fire, right? Or offspring. The third is about learning, which is the Sagittarian. Now, this is the difference between what you desire and what you aspire. Okay? You ever know a Sagittarian?
Yes.
Let me see. Always smiling, always optimistic. Look for them when you want to be optimistic. Philosophers, and they're always how can I put this? They're always smiling, they're always kind of upbeat all the time. The problem, the negative part of that is their key word is, oh, I see, because opposite from them is Gemini, which is I think. So you can learn if you can think, right? So, but if they ever get a hold of something, information or whatever, and it ain't quite right, forget about it. They take off with it. You can't tell them no. You can't tell them anything. They got it, you know. That's how they are. But anyway, that's generic because there's different factors that are involved in that. Like I'm going to show you that each sign has its separate deacon. You think that you're a Leo, so you're ruled by the sun, but really you're ruled by Jupiter. You may be ruled by Jupiter and or Mars, because all fire signs, all signs break down into 3 divisions, depending on the degree that you're born in or the deacon that you're born in. They're called deacons. Every 10 days changes the guard. And the changing of the guard is only going to be the ruler of the sign in your same element. So if you're an air sign, let's say Libra, and you're ruled by Venus.
And that would be the moon?
No, Venus rules the air sign. Okay, so the next air sign is Uranus for Aquarian.
Right.
And the other one is Mercury for Gemini. So you may be a Libra, but depending on where you are, you may not be ruled by Venus. Still the general essence, but you are ruled by either one of those other 2
I
signs.
have to look at the other fire signs.
You have to look at the other. First thing you got to look at is what degree were you born into your sign. So if you were a Leo, then were you born in the first 10 days?
15th of August.
So you're in the middle 10 days. So then it's the sun and I believe Jupiter. And Jupiter bestows your gifts and offers expansion.
So that stays the same for each year? That doesn't change?
No.
depending on the year you were born?
No. No, that's foundational. All this is foundational stuff that has, you know what I mean? And you, right. I'm gonna put a diagram up that shows you that. A lot of people didn't know that about their signs. I found it to be really, it's called the changing of the guards. That's what I call it.
And it's like 3, so it's kind of like 3 sections of that particular sign.
This is interesting. And here's another thing. Remember I told you it's a repetition of the principle. Each season is 3 months.
Right.
Each month or sign within the month is 30 days. Inside the 30 days is broken up into 10 days.
Oh, okay.
That's where the change
So
comes.
basically, so again, so if you would say born at the beginning of Scorpio,
You got it?
so the beginning of Scorpio, the first 10 days would be like Pluto, and the middle 10 would be
Neptune.
and then
Yeah.
what other one?
So you see the difference?
Oh, and then
No,
the moon.
And then the moon, right, exactly. So now do you see how people are all going to be different, but it really isn't that complicated if you have the foundation on what it is. But you may find some people who are out there to think that they know what it is, and you know they might want to sell it to you for too much, or you know they want to keep it to themselves because they know something, and you experience, you know what I mean? It's not it. Certainly, it's not my intention. My intention is you should know this and teach it to your children. And teach it, and believe me, it will help. When we're done, it'll help you in your life. It'll help you if you got a problem with getting rid of the guide. It'll help you there too, because that's the first thing you need to do. Then it's going to help you because, believe me, you will not need to go and try to figure out, oh, what's wrong. You will know instantly. In fact, the interesting part of doing this and then doing your own chart is that as soon as you see it, you know it. Especially when you do your own thing, your own chart. You know exactly why you do what you do. And if you continue to do something that you're not supposed to do, like say if you smoke cigarettes, okay, and I'm not getting down on anybody that does, you know what I mean, and you know that you should not, you ought not. It's okay. You know, you're going to get your retribution for it's going to come around anyway. So it doesn't matter what excuses you put in your head. It's all about your will to do so. That's what that's about. But the planets are going to do their thing regardless to whether you recognize or do the right thing or not. It is repetitious. It doesn't change in terms of its nature. And it's like I told you earlier, none of the planets are bad. I am who I am. I do what I do. I've heard people say to me, because when they talk about planets and angels, that's what they are. They're angles of light. That's where angels come from. Angle of light, right? So I've heard people say, oh, they're malevolent. They don't want to do for us. No. They just do what they do, and they're not bending in it because this is who I am. I am who I am, and this is what I do. I think about now we should take a break.
Okay, how about this?